What up, everybody? It's the Rottweiler Patriots. I'm Vegas.
And I'm T-Bone.
And we're coming at you with another video today where we're going to discuss the New England Patriots 2024 draft. The New England Patriots had the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft, and with that pick, they selected Drake May, quarterback out of the University of North Carolina. And this was the guy before the draft who I did not want us to draft. And I was worried it was going to happen because all reports seemed to indicate that Caleb Williams was going to the Bears at 1 and Jaden Daniels was going to the Commanders at 2, leaving the last of the big 3 QBs to fall to New England at 3. And that is exactly what happened. My personal pick here would have been Marvin Harrison Jr., but that would have taken the organization in an entirely different direction than they clearly wanted to go. They wanted to go for a quarterback, and so they went out and got the guy they liked the most. And, I mean, I can't fault them for that, and I understand why a lot of people like Drake May. Drake May is a guy who has a tremendous amount of physical ability. He is an athlete. He has incredible arm strength, can run when he needs to, is very tough, and like he's a guy who wants to make plays, and I understand absolutely wanting to have that on your team. My big concern for him was some of his decision making, some of his accuracy. His footwork is all over the place. That's going to be the biggest part of his game he needs to fix is his footwork. Now, one of the things that I think didn't help him was the fact that the University of North Carolina offensive line last year was not particularly great. He was definitely having to run for his life a decent amount of the time, which might not be a bad thing going into the NFL, especially if New England's offensive line cannot stay healthy, as it has had a tough time doing over the last couple of years. But this is a pick that New England clearly liked, and even though I was not a Drake May fan headed into it, I would rather the organization pick someone who they like and who they think they can make into a great NFL quarterback, because don't get me wrong, Drake May can become a great NFL quarterback. I've seen a lot of people say he looks like a good mix between Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, and I would agree with that in generally the way he plays and the way he's built physically. He's right in between those guys. He's he's a little bigger than he looks. I don't think he's as big as Herbert or Allen, but he's bigger than he looks. And so, and like he runs more than Herbert, but definitely less than Allen. He knows how to use his feet, and that's definitely an attractive thing in today's game, and that's definitely something New England has lacked since Tom Brady, which, Tom Brady didn't exactly run that often, but that's because of the way he played his game. But when it came to his feet, Tom Brady was really and truly immaculate. But Drake is a guy who very much can become a great NFL quarterback. It was just my opinion that of the top quarterbacks in this draft, he was going to have the most difficult time doing so, especially if he was put in a tough situation, because he does have to work on his footwork a lot. He needs a lot of work on his footwork. He does have to work on his accuracy some of the time. He does have to work on his decision-making some of the time. He really needs to work on his consistency. There are some times where he'll be playing absolutely out of his mind, and other times where he's just playing absolutely terrible. Inconsistency was a big issue for him in college, and so if the New England Patriots are going to turn him into a star quarterback, they have to overcome all of those issues, and those issues are just a greater sum than the other top quarterbacks in this draft. And I mean, there's a reason that Williams and Daniels went ahead of him. And in fact, the Commanders didn't even have May on their radar. I mean, they, scouted him, invited him, but the two guys who they were interested in were Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy. And McCarthy was my number 3 for this draft, behind Daniels and Williams, who got picked 1 and 2. So, there's a reason May fell to New England at 3. And again, we picked him for what he could become, but he has a long way to go to get there. So it'll be interesting to see how New England tackles this, especially with Jacoby Brissett on the roster. But, he wasn't the guy I wanted, but he's now a New England Patriot, and now I'm hoping he's able to be the best player he possibly can be. T-Bone, your thoughts?
That's a really great positive way to look at it, Vegas, because obviously it's not what you wanted. It's not the end goal that you wanted, but you've taken it as it is, and you're going with the flow, and I respect that. And honestly, you're right. It's obviously not the pick that you wanted, but clearly like you're saying, the organization has something in mind that they want to do, and clearly they see the talent that he can possess, because he can possess that talent. He's a very gifted athlete. There's a lot of progression that he could really become very gifted. So if he just knows how to harness some of that, it could be very fruitful for your franchise. So, and I can clearly see, the way you want to go versus them. But, if this is the way they're going, and they're going to try and develop them the best they can, then here's hoping that they do it. So overall, I'm kind of in agreement with you somewhat, but you know what? Like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about, the organization getting a guy they trust, which I mentioned before, and one of the things that makes me trust them a little bit more with this pick, they liked him clearly, and to be fair to him, his attitude, like, we drafted him, his attitude from day 0, fantastic. I've been seeing all the promotional stuff, social media stuff of him, interview, showing up to Gillette, clips here and that. His attitude throughout this whole process has been amazing, and he is a good kid, and I think he has the potential to be a great leader, which you need a quarterback to be. I've been very impressed with the way he has handled himself, and I really love how it's like, I'm going to bring my 2 brothers, my best friend, and my longtime girlfriend up there with me, and it's like, you're getting this whole package deal. I like that a lot from him. So there's a lot to like there. So, but like, one of the things that gives me hope for him, given that the team likes him, is that I'm a big fan of, one, overall, how the team has handled this offseason in terms of personnel decisions. Some of the extension, we just extended Barmore, we got Duggar, Bourne, signed some guys in free agency, Robinson, who I really liked, I think are going to make the team better, Hooper, So, and then, as we'll discuss, there are some of the draft picks that we made in later rounds I am a big fan of. So that's something that we're going to discuss later, but I think their picks overall have been very, very good. And so given that I'm a fan of their later picks, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt of their analysis of May and what they think they'll be able to get out of him versus what I think he will be. And as of right now, I'm hoping that I am wrong about him, because that is what's best for the New England Patriots, and at the end of the day, I want what is best for the New England Patriots. And so, given all of this, my grade for this pick is a B+. Patriots go out and get a guy they like, not a guy who I was a big fan of. The B+ is really, it's more just because of, how high he has to climb to get to where he can be. But he is a guy who is capable of becoming an elite quarterback. He just has a long way to go. And unfortunately, there are guys with the kind of talent that he has, like Zach Wilson, who just didn't pan out, and that's my big worry for him. but hopefully he turns out to be a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. And I don't. Even I didn't think he was going to be that bad, but you know, here's to hoping. Overall, I was kind of hating on it, but I like the pick, especially since the team likes the pick. And again, his attitude, this whole thing, he's grown on me a bit. Alrighty, moving on to the second round. The New England Patriots select Jalen Polk, wide receiver, University of Washington, with the 5th pick in the second round. And I am a humongous fan of this pick. Polk is a guy who is really, really skilled. He is a great route runner. He's not the speediest guy in the world, but he's got decent speed, and he is a great route runner who attacks the football with his hands to great effect, does not drop the ball very often at all. And he just has a tremendous amount of control with his body and an ability to go up and get balls, especially in contested situations. And like his ability to bring in deep balls, amazing. He's made some incredible athletic, acrobatic plays while at Washington, I mean, there's one play where he leaped up, caught the ball full extension going backwards, took a hit in the head from behind and held on to the ball. And that's another thing that I love about him too, is he is an incredibly tough football player. He takes hits and doesn't care that he takes hits. He's like, I'd rather take the hit than drop this football. Most guys will make a business decision. He's like, I will take the hit, catch the football, and get right back up from it. And I love that about this kid. I am a massive, massive fan of this pick for the New England Patriots. T-Bone, your thoughts?
And I really like what you said. I mean, I'm looking at him. I really the whole idea of this, I guess, I don't want to get on a tangent, but a business decision. And I get it. Believe me, I get it. I get, looking out for, yourself and, yours. But I can't help but just I love when a player puts his body on the line for the game and for the win. It does not matter. You're gonna get that ball. You're gonna make that play, and it does not matter who's in your way. You're gonna do it. You're gonna defy the odds, and I love that. So if you get a guy like this on a team like the Patriots, that's amazing. That's perfect, and I think that's also good. That's good for that's good rookie development. I think personally for May as well, because you've got a guy that's really he'll get that ball no matter what. Maybe not the biggest, the flashiest guy, but he knows his routes and he's gonna put his body on the line. And I think that's great.
And when we talk about putting his body in the line, he's not like putting himself in dangerous situations. He's just able to take a hit and get back up from it. And because he knows how to take a hit and get back up from it, he knows he can take a hit and still make the play. So he's learned to not let getting hit or guys getting physical with him stop him from playing his game. And that's something that you want in a wide receiver, So, like, he's not endangering himself at all. But he knows exactly how to take a hit and be tough about it and just get right back up and keep going. So, I mean, it's not even that big of a risk for him. And, like, that's the great thing. Because I've seen guys who just, they take hits and they just drop the ball. It happens all the time. You see it all the time. That's going to be harder for him because he attacks the ball so well with his hands. He has such great control of his body. Like, he's able to move his body wherever he wants. And that makes him great in deep ball contested catch situations. And, and like, there's a reason that he was top 3 in the country with deep balls. I think 15. Second of Marvin Harrison, and I want to say it was Neighbors. Just going off the top of my head, that's a stat that's been going around a lot about him if you kind of look at some of his discourse online. So, like, if you want to get the actual thing, I know for sure it's Harrison. I think Neighbors is the other one. So he's able to, be that option. And I think he's a great player who's going to mesh well with May and the way May plays. And he's not going to be he's not necessarily going to be a superstar number one, but he definitely has number one wide receiver potential, and at minimum, he's going to be a very reliable player, and reliable players are often the kind you need to win. I mean, you saw what the Patriots didn't have any flashy guys in their dynasty, but they had guys who were going to go out there and make the reliable play consistently, and that's what I think he'll be able to do. So I love this pick, and overall, I'm going to grade it an A. Alrighty, moving on to the third round, and in the third round, the New England Patriots select offensive tackle Caden Wallace out of Penn State University with the fourth pick in the third round. And Wallace, I will admit, is not a guy I know a ton about, but the general consensus I got from this is that relative to where people mocked him, this was a little bit of a reach. But a lot of premier offensive tackles and good quality offensive tackles went a lot sooner than people expected them to. Like, there were a lot of players who went way sooner than people expected them to, and then a lot of players who fell way further back than people expected them to. Like, if you told me Peyton Wilson, for example, was going to get drafted in the third round with the 35th pick, I would have called you crazy. I would have. Because Wilson is a much better player than that. I was very surprised when both Cooper and Kool-Aid both fell out of the first round. I know there were, a couple of guys who some might rate higher than them. But corner is a premium position, and those are two very talented guys. So, this pick makes sense. The New England Patriots are addressing a position of need in offensive tackle to an extent. So it'll be interesting to see where Wallace fits into the whole situation. I expect Onwenu to play right tackle, Sau to probably play right guard, Andrew center, Cole Strange left guard. And those four guys alone, that's a pretty solid offensive line. And people look at our offensive line last year, it's like, oh, those are a lot of the same players. But what people forget is there were a lot of injuries. Guys were not healthy on that line. And the big issue was left tackle, especially one with Trent Brown getting hurt, and two, Trent Brown also kind of giving up on the team towards the end and just being done with the whole situation. And so, it'll be interesting to see how Wallace is used as a rookie. We saw Sau last year as a rookie come in and do well, and he was a mid-round pick. So, overall, I like the pick here. Again, I don't know a ton about Caden. He's not one of those players who was on my radar headed into the draft, not one of the guys who I had a chance to do very much scouting work post-draft because the last couple of weeks have been exam season for us, and so while I've done some work on some guys, specifically the more important picks for the offense, I did not get a chance to get Wallace, but, Penn State tends to produce good players, and offensive tackle being in position of need, the team went out, filled that need with a guy that I'm going to assume they like since they got him. So, T-Bone, your thoughts?
And it's about the same with me. I mean, I haven't, didn't have a chance to look at him, and but really, you broke it down perfectly. It's not ultimately, if you don't know much, go with what you do know. Your team needed this position. Your team looked at the guy. Your team is smart. Now, my team last year wasn't smart, but your team is smart. Your team's logical. They look at what they need. They look at the college that produces good players, good caliber players, and they take that. And I mean, end of story. So that's, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, that's pretty solid. They you had something that desperately was injured and an issue last year, and now they're addressing it. Excellent. Enough said.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I don't know how the team's going to use him. I don't know if he's going to be good enough to start off the bat, but at minimum, it's adding depth to a line that's biggest issue last year was depth. The line didn't struggle because the starters weren't good. The line struggled because the starters were hurt and we didn't have the depth to keep up with it. And the line being hurt completely derailed our entire season on top of our best defensive players getting hurt early on and then a lot of our best offensive players also getting hurt for the season for large chunks or even the majority of it. So, and it's been kind of interesting seeing people like doing mock drafts for next year, and they have the Patriots like picking 1, 2, or 3, and it's like the Patriots were not as bad as their record stated last year. We just weren't that lucky with how some things turned out, and that affected guys, and it is what it is. I've made my opinions about last season very, very clear, but at the end of the day, you got to move forward and make the best decisions that you can for the team to succeed in the future. And this was addressing a need that the team had. And so for that reason, I'm going to give this a B. Alrighty, moving on to the fourth round. Our next pick was Layden Robinson, offensive guard, Texas A&M, and Robinson is very much the same story for me as Wallace. Did not get a chance to look at him after, we drafted him. Wasn't on my radar headed into the draft. And, for the same reasons as Wallace, just never got a chance to look at him once we made the pick. But, Robinson is an offensive guard, and depth of the offensive guard position was an issue for us last year. A little less so than tackle, but, having Robinson in, I think, will be nice, at least just to have, like I said, depth for the position. And so, really and truly, it's a lot of the same story. My only concern is that he's from Texas A&M, and while that school has a big name, they don't always live up to it, especially in the NFL, and I know that's stereotyping a little bit. And obviously you can't make assumptions about any one player until you see how they turn out in the NFL. But, at the end of the day, the Patriots add more depth to the offensive line, which I don't think is ever a bad thing. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I mean, really, that's what it is. You know, never a bad thing. Adding, depth to the line. Never a bad thing. Adding depth to the line when you need it. Obviously there's some questions about, consistency of the prospects of that school, but overall, it's linemen.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're going to hope that he turns into a good player because, offensive line is always a big deal, and obviously they liked him enough to take a shot at him. So, again, filling a position of need here in the fourth round, offensive guard, getting that depth. I like it. So, again, going to give this one a B. Alrighty. Our next pick, also in the fourth round, going from 3 to 10, we have Javon Baker. And getting him at this spot was an absolute steal. Everyone had him going in the first 3 rounds. I was genuinely surprised to see him fall to day 3. And to see him fall to us at the 10th pick in the fourth round, I think is huge. I love this kid. I absolutely love his attitude. I watched an interview with him with him and Steve Smith, who, T-Bone here is a fan of. And I also watched Steve Smith, break down his film. And he had a lot of good things to say. A lot like Polk, his route running was really, really good. The timing with his cuts is incredible. He's very good at leading defenders one way and then using space to his advantage. And one thing that he's definitely can be a bit is circusy, as Smith said, called it. He a bit circusy catches, and he basically said that he makes the easy catches look hard and the hard catches look easy. But he's a guy who's able to go up, win 50-50 balls, has great hands. Again, is one of those guys who will go up and make a grab with his hands. I really like that about him. He's got more back-end speed than Polk, but he still has the ability to run good routes and, beat corners. And he's got a little bit more to work on with his game than Polk does, but overall, big, big, big fan of this pick. T-Bone, your thoughts?
It is crucial to get an athlete that is able to jump up and get those 50-50 balls, which is just, I mean, it's a great skill to have. So, I mean, ultimately, I guess, and also getting a guy to fall this far and picking him up, great steal. So, excellent work. Very, very good work by the front office.
Absolutely, and again, I love this kid's personality. He is a big-time jokester. I think he's going to bring a good sense of lightheartedness to the locker room. I think, he's a really, really good kid, and I think he's funny. He's absolutely hilarious. I mean, he talked about, I make people in wheelchairs stand up, and then 2 days later he posted a video of making someone in a wheelchair stand up. When he was joking all throughout the interview with Smith, and just having a good time, He's a fun kid, and he's a darn good football player. And to get him where we got him in the draft, I think is a massive win. Getting him at pick 410, fabulous. So overall, I give this draft pick an A. Huge, huge fan. Alrighty, moving on to the 6th round. No 5th round picks. We're moving on to the 6th round. We have Marcellus Dial, cornerback out of South Carolina. And Dial is not a guy who I know a ton about. Again, didn't really get a great chance to scout him. Wasn't on my radar before. Didn't have a chance after we picked him. But he is a corner, which it's nice to have depth at that position, especially since we're a little lacking, not as much. I see Dial as potentially being a guy who could replace Miles Bryant, especially since we know Bryant is no longer a Patriot, much to my dismay. I would have really liked to have kept him, and I know he wasn't the most popular Patriot, especially on social media, but personally, was a big Miles Bryant fan. But Marcellus Dial adds depth to the cornerback room, and a guy who has a bit of versatility to him, which is never a bad thing. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in the NFL. I'm not sure exactly how much playing time we're going to get because our front end with corner is very good. You're talking about, Christian Gonzalez, Jonathan Jones, you got Marcus Jones, Alex Austin even, There's definitely talent already for New England at corner, but at minimum, it's depth at a position that could have used a little bit of depth. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I mean, at worst, it's literally bolstering, a crucial part of a team with depth, and at best, he turns into a stud. So, really, you can't go wrong with this, with this pick. Obviously, don't know much about him, but really, you get depth at a position that you guys really are solid at. So, it's good work.
Overall, generally a fan of the pick. I give it a grade of a B minus. And so, yeah. Alrighty, the next pick is Joe Milton III. 6th round pick, 17th pick of the 6th round. Quarterback out of Tennessee. And this is a pick that I don't understand why the Patriots made. This is the one pick in this draft where I'm like, what? So, for those of you who have been paying attention, the New England Patriots already drafted a quarterback. And not all did we already draft a quarterback, we also signed a quarterback in free agency who might be our starter this year. So, and then we also have a guy on the roster who started half the season for us last year. Who, is a decent backup. So you now have 4 quarterbacks on the squad. So it's really interesting to see how that is going to play out. Whether or not this spells the end or Bailey Zappi in New England, I don't know. Because what I do know is that regardless of what happens, Jacoby Brissett and Drake May will both be New England Patriots. They will make the roster for sure. You don't pay a quarterback $10 million and then pick a quarterback at number 3 overall and not have them on the roster. But Joe Milton is an incredible athlete. He is capable of throwing a football very, very far. He is capable of running well, He's got a lot of good physical traits. But as a quarterback, he was not very good. He was incredibly inaccurate at times, made a lot of bad decisions, very inconsistent with his play, was all over the place. He felt like a guy who had great athletic talent, but didn't have the control he needed over those talents to succeed as a quarterback. So if he is able to rein it in a little bit and gain a little bit more control over himself, I think it's possible that he could be a very good player. But Joe Milton has a lot of things that he has to work on before he gets to that point. And I don't know how many opportunities he's going to have because, again, we have Jacoby Brissett, we have Drake May, and we have Bailey Zappi. So this is an interesting pick to me for New England, especially when we only drafted 1 defensive player. I really and truly think this pick would have been better spent on a defender. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I agree. I really agree. I don't know what the Patriots were thinking. I think at best he's going to be, some type of wildcat formation, and at worst, he's going to be the next Memphis Showboats. Not Memphis Showboats. They're out of the league. The next, screw it. He's the next Stallions quarterback.
He's not going to be the next Stallions quarterback. The Stallions actually want to win championships.
I don't know what use they have for Joe Milton. They kind of wasted a pick, I think. No offense, but just I don't understand why they picked Joe Milton III.
Yeah, it's like I said, I really and truly I don't get the pick, especially given the context of our quarterback situation and given how much we focused on offense in the draft. I would have liked a defensive pick here. I don't think Milton's going to turn into anything. And so, given all of those factors, I give this draft pick a grade of a C-. And finally, moving on to the 7th round and the last pick for the New England Patriots, Jaheim Bell. A tight end or a fullback. Kind of a bit of a combo there from FSU with the 11th overall pick in the 7th round. And I am a fan of this pick. Bell was a big part of Florida State's very good team last year, a team that I think should have made the playoffs and got royally screwed by the committee. Texas beat Alabama during the regular season. That should have settled the whole debate. You win Power 5 conference, you make it, you know, you go undefeated, and because one guy gets hurt, you don't make the college football playoff, which directly incentivizes injuring opposing teams' best players, by the way. I wish the committee had thought about that. But regardless, Bell was a good player for Florida State last year, and the big thing that makes him so great is his versatility. He's able to play as a tight end and as a fullback, and I think that's why New England went for him. We haven't had a proper fullback in quite a while, and I think it'd be cool to see us, bring that back, and I think Bell's a guy who can do that. And the thing that makes him great, like, he's able to rush, he's able to, run ours, he's able to block. I mean, he's not the biggest talent in the world. I mean, there's a reason he fell to the 7th round, but I think he's one of those guys who has the potential to be one of those diamond in the rough picks. I've liked what I've seen from him, and again, his versatility, especially, something that you could potentially add to the blocking game, which is a little bit lacking with New England's tight ends, or maybe even to add in as a fullback, something we've lacked for a while. Overall, I'm a fan of the pick. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I'm very much. I believe that there can be versatility here. I am a believer in the fullback, so I might be extremely biased here, but I mean, there's plenty that you can do with tight ends slash fullback slash running backs when it comes to the blocking game and just many different plays that you can do. So I mean, I think it's a solid offensive pick for late rounder, seeing what you can do. Hey, see what you can do. Just throwing out anything that works. See what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the 7th round, this is a good value pick, and this is a kid who really and truly I think has potential to be one of, the diamond in the rough sleeper picks of the draft. And because of what I think he could potentially do and because of his overall versatility, I give this pick a grade of an A minus, which, that's, people wonder, like, grading 7th round picks. You can never really know. At the end of the day, we grade these things. We don't know until they play on the football field. But I'm working with the best information that I've got from what I've seen these guys so far. So, I like what I've seen from him, so I got an A minus there. Alrighty, that concludes the picks for the New England Patriots. And before we wrap this thing up, we are going to grade the New England Patriots draft overall, and the grade I have given the New England Patriots for this draft is a B+. I gave May a B+ as a pick. I have my issues with him, but I also know what he can become, and I understand why the team picked him, I understand why the team likes him, and I trust the team with that there. And then you talk about getting Polk and Baker. I absolutely love those picks. Love those picks. And then really with the rest of the draft, we, focused on areas of need, got depth where we needed it. The only pick that I didn't really like was Joe Milton. Every other pick I was generally a fan of. And so all of that combined, I think the New England Patriots deserve a B+. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm thinking it's B plus, somewhere around that range. So I'm thinking B plus as well. Overall, fair with a hiccup here or there. Overall, pretty solid grade.
Yeah. I am happy with this draft for the New England Patriots. I'm excited to see what we do going forward. Obviously, a lot to pay attention to this year. This is going to be a very, very big year for New England. New quarterback, new coach, new a lot. So it'll be a lot of fun, but I'm a huge, huge fan of this draft. I think they've really put the team in a position to succeed moving forward. And so, yeah, I give it a B+. But we would love to know what you all would grade this draft yourself, so please be sure to let us know down in the comments below. And that is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. Please be sure to subscribe. And we will see you all in the next video.